SCP-3199. SCP-3199, also known as Humans Refuted, is an extremely violent, horrid-looking, man-sized chicken that's known to attack humans on sight. It can be described as a mix of silky chicken, chimpanzee, muscle, and my channel logo, which is an egg-cellent way to describe it. This thing is 6 feet tall, hairless, and constantly sweating egg juice. It's Keter class because, yes, it's hard to kill, but mostly because it can't stop breeding. When you kill it, it leaves behind a surprise. One fully loaded egg-laying nightmare. When stressed, it lays massive rubbery eggs through its throat. These eggs are covered in acidic goo, and once laid, do one thing. Sit there until the temperature is just right and hatch a new 3,199, which also lays eggs, which also hatches. You get the idea. They lay eggs in any unoccupied space. Closet, egg, elevator shaft, egg, empty coffee mug. Hope you like protein. The eggs are nearly indestructible, resistant to pressure, blades, acid, and most logical attempts at science. Containment involves submerging them in hardened acrylic blocks inside an acid-resistant steel room, with CCTV watching 24/7. There's even a backup perimeter zone just in case one starts twitching. If they breach, the site floods with sedative-laced distilled water, because apparently they mistake liquid for occupied space and stop laying eggs in it. These things aren't random. They're a mirror. 3,199s replicate endlessly, filling every bit of space, with no clear reason other than because they can. Remind you of anything? Turns out, humanity might not be the contrast. Just the test run. SCP-1128. SCP-1128, also known as the aquatic horror, manifests as a gigantic, enormous marine predator to anyone exposed to a full description of it. This entity is classified as Euclid and doesn't live in the ocean, and it lives in your head. I'm not saying it's swimming around in your brain, but the second someone gives you the full description, either written, spoken, or visually depicted, you're basically cooked. After exposure, people develop a fun little habit, refusing to touch water. Because they know any pool, pond, or suspiciously deep puddle becomes a trapdoor. If you're unlucky enough to get wet, you don't just drown. You become an actual mermaid. No, kidding, that's another story. Instead of growing a tail, you get yanked into a personal hell dimension, a deep, alien ocean, where SCP-1128 is already swimming, already hunting. Basically, thalassophobia's final boss. Some come back, screaming, gasping, puking seawater like a fire hydrant. One guy reappeared, missing half a leg and still apologizing. Others don't come back at all. And the survivors? You'll wish they didn't, as they can't seem to shut up about what they saw. And if they get too detailed, now you have the curse, too. Containment is a disaster. All records are shredded, survivors are memory wiped, and if you so much as describe it in charades, that's a full lockdown. So now that we've got that out of the way, here's a full description of what the creature looks like. SCP-01. SCP-01, also known as When Day Breaks, is the sun, except now it's a Polyon class, which is Foundation code for we lost. No fix, no reset button. Just sunrise and ruin. The second visible light hits a living thing, it liquefies like butter in a microwave. Skin peels, bones fold, organs slide out, and you stay alive through all of it. You become SCP-01A, a sentient skin puddle with working vocal cords and way too many emotions. They don't attack, they just sort of wander, drip, and whisper things like, "Come with me!" Eventually, they fuse into one big slow-moving meat blob that's still somehow trying to hug people. Kinda looks like that girl from The Substance. It's upsetting. Moonlight triggers it too. A single shaft through a crack in a bunker door is enough. Suddenly, the entire world smells like barbecue. It's less global warming and more global slow roast. You used to worry about skin cancer? Nice. Now you are the tumor. Containment is mostly wishful thinking. The Foundation's tucked itself underground like a hermit crab. A few sites survive, but everyone else is soup. Some idiots are still planning a space launch. Hope they packed sunscreen. So if someone outside says, "It's beautiful out," do not go up. That's not your friend. That's something soft and melting and wearing your friend's voice like a mask. SCP-017. SCP-017, also known as Shadow Person, is a Keter-class humanoid made entirely of shadow. Roughly the size of a midget, it just floats there, silent, shapeless, and vaguely pissed off at the concept of light. No eyes, no mouth, just a blurry outline like someone vaped a person into existence. It doesn't move unless something casts a shadow on it. That's the switch. And this thing absolutely despises shadows. Why? Who knows? Might just hate competition, doesn't matter. If your shadow touches it, you're gone, instantly. No scream, no gore, just clean deletion. It resets like nothing happened and waits for the next idiot to forget the rules. It doesn't walk, doesn't twitch, doesn't even blink. You could tap dance in front of it and it wouldn't care, unless you block the light. That's when it attacks. Containment is basically one big light box. A glass cell wrapped in floodlights from every angle, with zero room for shadows. If one bulb fails, you've got a body count. Everything's automated. Nobody's allowed inside unless they're cool with being a science experiment. Where the victims go is still unknown. If the lights fail, it moves. And when it moves, someone disappears. There's no warning. just absence. SCP-3889. SCP-3889, also known as the greatest fisherman who ever lived, is Henry Holland Hank McAllister, a fisherman born in 1849 who somehow still exists, still fishes, and still hasn't aged out of ruining everyone's day. Officially, he's just a leathery old man with a rod and tackle box. Unofficially, he's a fishing disaster magnet, much worse than the dudes who pose with fish on Tinder. He shows up along the U.S. East Coast, anywhere from Maryland to North Carolina, armed and unfazed by physics. At random intervals, he initiates a 3889 TEHOM event by casually casting a line into brackish water. Minutes or hours later, he reels in something that should not exist. Past catches include a skyscraper-sized corpse octopus made of human remains, a glowing sea blob that leaked radiation, and once just a normal baskin shark. Good news. Hank disappears after each event. Bad news. His catches don't. Foundation naval response teams have used everything from machine guns to tactical nukes. Doesn't always work. Henry can't be contained. Attempts result in him dropping some cryptic one-liners like, "You can't bottle a squall, son," or "Only fool catch takes fool bait," before vanishing. In his place appears a random Foundation agent, confused, mildly traumatized, and accessorized with something humiliating like a bobber up the nose or sinkers in their pants. The Foundation officially labels him as local folklore. Because yeah, that's easier. So if you ever hear, "Tide's right, might snag something awful today," run, or you're about to be the bait. SCP-354. SCP-354 is a stationary puddle of red liquid in the middle of nowhere, Canada. Not blood, but close enough to make you uncomfortable. It has no visible bottom, gets thicker the deeper you go, and yes, dumb souls have tried to find the bottom. Spoiler, they haven't returned. So yeah, turns out Canada isn't all polite mousse and maple syrup. At first it was classified as Euclid, until it started spitting out random stuff. We're talking six-legged murder bats, humanoid tanks, other SCPs, and one completely normal guy who politely asked where he was. The Foundation shot him anyway, just in case. Honestly, fair. Most of what comes out is hostile, fast, and deeply offended by the concept of walls. Imagine it spits out Canadian singer Justin Bieber mid-baby. Not saying it happened, just saying if it did, everyone would have just nodded and kept their guns up. Originally, the Foundation built a little observation shack nearby. That shack got shredded. Then they built a fortress. That also got shredded. Eventually, someone thought, let's just drain the thing. That plan ended with everyone on site going feral and nuking the facility. So now they just leave it alone. Politely, containment is elaborate. Area 354 has been rebuilt around the pool. It's staffed with armed response units, researchers, and D-Class on monster wrangling duty. No one goes near it unless O5 signs off. And even then, it's mostly for study or figuring out how to delete the thing entirely. The red pool doesn't act like a portal. It's like an itchy throat. And one day, it's going to cough up something too big to stop. SCP-169. SCP-169, also called the Leviathan, is a Keter-class anomaly. That is, technically speaking, the size of a problem you can't run from. It's not a monster in the ocean. It is the ocean, or at least a good chunk of it. Early explorers thought its back was just a regular island chain. People fished off it, had picnics, took selfies. No one realized they were setting up lawn chairs on the crusty shell of a gigantic prehistoric arthropod that makes Godzilla look like a little garden lizard. Estimates put it somewhere between 2,000 and 8,000 kilometers long. And I'm not exaggerating, that's a real guess. It's possibly older than bones, and somehow it's still alive, still breathing. Hopefully it's sleeping, though, because when it shifts, even slightly, tsunamis happen, earthquakes happen. Imagine if this guy ever farts. We would probably lose an entire continent. Containment doesn't exist. The Foundation's best plan is pretend it's not there. Any satellite that catches movement, image wiped, civilian ships rerouted, or let's just say, lost at sea. They even invented a fake endangered bird population just to keep tourists away. Top-tier gaslighting. So, if SCP-169 ever wakes up fully, there won't be a war. There won't even be a scream. Just new maps, and fewer people to read them. SCP-3812. SCP-3812, also known as the voice behind me, used to be a guy named Sam Howell. Died in 1996. Buried, mourned, case closed, until he pulled a full resurrection arc and casually floated into the sky. Since then, he's gone from random dead guy to what's probably the most unstable, overpowered reality bender in Foundation records. Keter class, obviously. Not because they are containing him, because they aren't, but because they are running out of ways to pretend they understand what he's doing. He has schizophrenia, not the metaphorical kind, the cosmic system-level kind. He can't tell what's real, so he changes the world until it matches what he thinks is real. Sometimes that's harmless. Sometimes it's a building collapsing, a time loop snapping in half, or a city that suddenly never existed. The Foundation doesn't know how many people have been erased. They only know it's happened more than once. Containment doesn't exist. Put him in a box, he deletes the box. Try to tranquilize him, he retroactively decides you were never aiming. The only protocol is tracking his location, currently drifting above the South Pacific, and minimizing damage when the next mental breakdown happens. He's not violent. but he's unstable, lonely, and completely removed from the world he used to be part of. And when the disconnect becomes too much, reality folds to keep him comfortable. SCP-3812 doesn't exist in reality anymore. He edits it when he remembers, deletes it when he forgets. Either way, we're just collateral damage he hasn't noticed yet. SCP-2006. Okay, I may have lied. This one isn't exactly scary. You see, SCP-2006 is a Keter-class shape-shifting entity whose entire purpose in existence is to scare humans. The twist? It has zero idea what actually scares them. It tries really hard, like adorably hard, but the best it can do is turn into low-budget horror villains from movies that got 8% on Rotten Tomatoes. And its favorite form? Roman, the gorilla suit with a fishbowl helmet from the 1953 disaster robot monster. So yes, the deadliest thing about SCP-2006 might be secondhand embarrassment. His true form is a floating, shape-shifting blob. It can change its size, voice, chemistry, everything. In theory, it could become anything it wants. In practice, it mostly walks around yelling things like, "Behold, human, tremble," while dressed like a Halloween prop from a dollar store. It's technically indestructible, no known weaknesses. So, if it ever figures out what actually scares people, war, death, nuclear scenarios, even commitment, it could become the most psychologically dangerous thing on the planet. Containment is basically method acting. Every staff member near it has to pretend to be terrified, like Oscar-worthy fake screams. It's shown bad horror movies on a monthly basis to keep its scare standards low, and no one is allowed to let it know how ridiculous it is. Because the second it learns fear isn't all rubber masks and spooky music, we're screwed. SCP-966. What came first, the chicken or the egg? A better question would be, what crawled out of the egg? And why does it look like SCP-3199's sleep-deprived cousin? These things are Euclid-class fever dream material, minus the dream part, because they won't let you sleep at all. It's a species of hairless, thin humanoids, with teeth like needles and the muscle tone of a rotisserie chicken. It looks kind of scary until you zoom in and realize Homie is probably high as a kite, grinning like he just crop-dusted the room and is waiting for you to notice. But don't let the goofy face fool you. These guys are walking sleep paralysis demons. They emit an invisible wave that blocks your ability to sleep. You can't nap, you can't dream, and you won't even pass out from exhaustion. Basically, you'll stay awake as your brain slowly breaks down. Ambien? Worthless. Meditation? Try hallucinations instead. You couldn't have dreamed of being in a worse situation, literally. And all the while, something is following you, but you can't see it. SCP-966 is only visible in the infrared spectrum. So, unless you're wearing night vision goggles for fun, you'll never know what's pacing behind you at 3 a.m. But you'll feel them, though. Sometimes they will mess with you. Random loud noises, footsteps, or the feeling you're being watched. Eventually, your mind unravels. You'll hallucinate, rage out, see things that aren't there, and then finally collapse, which is when they eat you. Containment is cozy. The Foundation has 4 of these things locked up in a 10 by 10 meter steel room padded with lead. They're watched 24/7 with heat-sensitive cameras, fed meat monthly, and if one gives birth, the newborn gets studied and, well, terminated. So yeah, joke's on you, I wasn't planning on sleeping tonight anyway. SCP-2852. Heads up, this one's disturbing. SCP-2852 might be the worst guest in human history. He's a Keter-class anomaly that shows up uninvited, no one remembers inviting him, and yet everyone swears he's family. Oh yeah, that's Cousin Johnny from Mom's side, I think. He looks like a perfectly average middle-aged man, which honestly is already scary enough. But then he opens his mouth. And that's where the copper-colored mystery goo comes in. I mean, out. Once he's there, things get weird pretty fast. During a christening, he acts like a third godparent, and suddenly everyone's eating the baby's skin. Don't worry, the baby survives. But he'll probably grow up to torture animals. And everyone else? They go sterile, suicidal, or murdery within a few years. At weddings, he brings dental tools. The happy couple extracts and eats their own teeth. Then he gives a speech no one understands, but everyone somehow agrees with, and gifts them a bag of hair, cicadas, and teeth. Funerals? Even worse. He delivers a speech that ends with guests draining their blood into the coffin and eating vomit stew at the wake. He lies on a table, gets eaten alive, then reappears at the next tragedy like nothing happened. Guess he took blood relative a bit too seriously. Containment is basically wishful thinking. Johnny teleports past locked doors, ignores guards, and doesn't appear on cameras. The Foundation can't hold him. They just track incidents and clean up the mess afterward. The best they can do is monitor religious gatherings and hope he doesn't RSVP. SCP-5031. SCP-5031 is a Keter-class creature that looks like it wants to gut you alive, but actually just wants to know if you like your duck confit crispy or soft. It's a floating six-armed murder beast that used to scream 24/7, killed anything that moved, and disemboweled pigs for fun. Now, it's serving fancy desserts and composing its own music. At first glance, well, you can't glance. If you look at SCP-5031 directly, it vanishes, like it was never there. You won't catch it on camera or in a photo either. The only thing you can see is its shadow, a tall, floating shape with 6 arms and a sharp, blade-like pelvis. So yeah, back then, straight into a soundproof iron box it went, where it screamed 24/7. But once researchers threw in a basketball, some Mozart, and a rotisserie chicken, something clicked. Fast forward a few months. It stopped killing things, started drumming, then cooking. Like, professionally. It taught itself motor skills, basic language, and kitchen technique. Its first word was literally salt. The Foundation couldn't be more proud. Now, it runs a gourmet test kitchen. It cooked tacos, fudge, and once hosted Thanksgiving with a 6-handed piano performance. Containment is more culinary internship than emergency lockdown. 5031 is now housed in a custom habitat, with speakers, lighting, toys, and a fully functional test kitchen. In the end, the anomaly was terrifying. But these days, the only thing scary about it is what it'll do if you undercook the risotto. SCP-4666. You know that line that goes, "He sees you when you're sleeping?" Yeah, that's him. SCP-4666 is a Keter-class Christmas cryptid known as the Yule Man. This 8-foot-tall, skinny old man only works 12 nights a year. But boy, does he make it count. From December 21st to January 2nd, families living above the 40 degrees north line might get a Weihnacht event. Sounds festive, right? Wrong. It's basically Foundation code for murderous holiday home invasion. First few nights, the kids just see him standing outside. If that isn't traumatizing enough, he does so butt-ass naked. By night 8, you hear footsteps in the attic and smell something disgusting, like the vomit stew from Cousin Johnny. On night 12, it's not subtle anymore. Everyone in the house gets brutally murdered, except one kid. That one gets abducted and turned into a toy. The lucky families, they don't die. They just wake up to said handcrafted toys, made from human bones, skin, and teeth. But don't worry, he never hurts animals. He might boil your parents alive, but Whiskers the cat gets a pass. Professionals have standards, obviously. Other than that, he shows zero emotion, no speech, and won't appear on video. He teleports, ignores physical barriers, and leaves no trace. Containment? Yeah, good luck. The Foundation just monitors for signs, fakes the crime scene, and hopes no one else makes his naughty list. He can't be captured, only tracked. Anyways, it seems like the story's got it wrong. He's not the one with the sleigh. He's the one who slays. SCP-323. Oh dear. You found a skull in the woods. It got antlers, bleached bone, and that hollowed-out put-me-on vibe. And because curiosity always wins, you touched it. Maybe even wore it. And now? You're eyeing Janet from HR like she's a charcuterie board. This Euclid-class anomaly is just a skull that looks like something you'd see hanging over a fireplace. But here's the catch. If you get too close for too long, it starts whispering to you. After some time, you start to realize maybe cannibalism might not be such a bad idea. But the real danger kicks in when someone tries to wear it. Even if their head doesn't fit, they'll bash it against walls until it does. The second it's on, you become SCP-323-1. In under 10 minutes, your body snaps and shifts. Fingers shatter, skin frostbites itself, your jaw reconstructs for optimal chewing. Hope you weren't attached to basic human anatomy, or your coworkers for that matter. Once transformed, you'll stalk, hunt, and kill anything human to keep up with their skyrocketing metabolism. No people around? That's fine. You'll just start eating yourself. Naturally, containment is helmet lockdown. The skull sits in an armored box inside a concrete room at Site 91. Nobody speaks English or French near it because, for reasons unknown, it really hates bilinguals. If you so much as whisper bonjour near it, expect problems. And next time you find bones in a forest, just remember, some things are meant to stay buried, like your appetite for Steve from accounting. SCP-3001. You know how sometimes people say they're seeing red? Well, this SCP takes that a little too literally. You see, 3001, also known as red reality, is a Euclid-class non-dimension. Basically, a pocket universe where space, time, and matter forgot how to exist properly. Once you're inside the red mist, your body starts to fall apart, but your mind doesn't follow. Dr. Robert Scranton ended up there by accident during a failed experiment. A sudden earthquake tore open a small tear in space, and he slipped through, gone in seconds. He landed in the red reality completely alone. There was no one to talk to, nothing to eat, and no way out. Just him, and a damaged control panel that came through with him. That panel became his only hope, and later, his only weapon. He tried everything to fix it, even used it to try and end his life. Nothing worked. After nearly 6 years in that place, the panel suddenly reappeared back on Earth. Just the panel, covered in blood, broken teeth, and pieces of him. His body had started dissolving, flesh, organs, even bone, just drifting away. But his brain stayed active. He could still talk, still think. He even tried to hold on to the memory of his wife Anna, repeating her name just to stay sane. Containment is no more accidental space holes. All reality tech is locked down, because Dr. Scranton might still be in there, barely human, still aware, and still waiting. SCP-087. SCP-087 is basically an infinite stairmaster. You'll probably already feel uneasy when you start down these stairs, but by the time you're a few floors in, your fear will be on another level. It's located on a college campus, because nothing says higher education like an infinite descent into psychological torment. The entrance? Hidden behind what looks like a janitor's closet. Inside, there's plain concrete, metal handrails, and a tight spiral staircase that descends forever. Oh, and it also eats anything brighter than a 75-watt bulb. Bring a torch and you'll see about 1.5 flights ahead. Bring optimism, that gets absorbed too. It's Euclid class, mostly because no one knows how deep it goes, or what's waiting. The Foundation tried multiple explorations. They sent in cameras, lights, even expendable people. And you're probably wondering, did anyone ever find the bottom? Short answer, nope. But they all heard the same thing. A child's voice, sobbing below. Naturally, everyone went full horror movie logic and kept following the sound. They each reported paranoia, visual hallucinations, and eventually the same thing, SCP-87-1. A pale, eyeless face in the dark, just floating and staring at you. So it appears these stairs will have you tripping in no time, and I don't mean falling. Containment is low effort, high stress. The Foundation is taking the steps to make sure the door is locked, reinforced, and foam padded now. Personally, I'd avoid taking the steps at all. So if you ever see a concrete stairwell and think, leg day? Think again. I wouldn't trust those stairs. Feels like they're up to something, or down for that matter. SCP-058. Ever wondered what happens when you shake a cow? Yeah, it's not a milkshake. It's an angry, four-legged cow heart with barbed tentacles and a scorpion tail. Turns out, the only thing worse than lactose intolerance is a cow heart that doesn't want to stay in the cow. You can think of it as something that gives a heart attack, a whole new meaning. Instead of beating its heart, it's beating everything else. It literally never skipped a beat, or a beating for that matter. This thing first appeared inside a Foundation facility, immediately slaughtered dozens of staff, then casually trotted into town for dessert. Hundreds died before a building collapse pinned it down. For containment, it took a tank, not military backup style, literally a tank. It's now housed in a reinforced box the size of a studio apartment, and even that requires constant repairs. It's fed live animals every 3 days, mostly out of fear that it'll order delivery if you forget. But the weirdest part? The heart speaks gibberish all the time. And even worse, it speaks in the voice of a posh older British man. Topics include, the flesh of children is tastier in winter, and the classic, a proper gentleman subscribes before being properly dismantled. It's simply good manners. It never really has a heart-to-heart, unless you count the traumatic kind. It makes sense. It just speaks in weird, poetic violence while actively trying to kill everything that moves. At least it put its whole heart into massacres, so I respect the hustle. Survival chance, 2%. Unless you're fluent in nonsense and made of brick. SCP-1013-J. Technically, it's a joke entry, but practically, it's a global squirrel uprising. This thing isn't a single creature or mutant species, it's squirrels. All of them. According to the Foundation, squirrels are running a global surveillance and sabotage network. They operate as a coordinated intelligence group, spread globally, with goals that may include world domination or, at the very least, human destabilization. They've been seen practicing martial arts, training with improvised weapons, and coordinating like tiny furry soldiers. That squirrel staring at you from the fence post? That wasn't curiosity. That was surveillance. A mobile task force codenamed Fuzzbutts has been assigned to keep tabs on them. It's made up entirely of dogs and cats. Apparently the only species the squirrels will even acknowledge. The Foundation urges zero contact, especially if you've ever fed them, taunted them, or, God forbid, hit one with your car. One man who shot squirrels with a BB gun was later found wrapped in vines, body full of bite marks, and mouth jammed with BBs. The squirrels had a message, and it involved D's nuts. They're small, fast, and literally everywhere. You're not paranoid. The squirrels are just out there collecting intel. As for conflict resolution, it's unclear. But we assume a squirrel fight is called a squarrel. And if you hear acorns cracking late at night, maybe check if your nutcracker's drafted. Survival chance 40%, 15% if you keep birdseed out, 0% if you've ever made a chipmunk joke in church. SCP-7000. SCP-7000 is a Euclid-class anomaly that's basically broken luck. Reality itself is falling apart, and at the center of it all is SCP-7000-1, also known as Dr. William Weddle, who's basically the biggest loser on Earth. He's a not-so-impressive researcher whose biggest achievement used to be losing his lunch to a vending machine. Then, in 2022, something strange happened. All the bad luck in the world stopped spreading around and started targeting just him. Planes don't crash anymore, bridges don't fall, unless Weddle's nearby. Turns out SCP-7000 is a weird global breakdown in probability. Random chance just stopped working right. And Weddle? He's the poor guy soaking up all the chaos. Somehow, by attracting disaster, he stops it from happening to everyone else. Weddle isn't the anomaly itself. He's the human anchor for it. His presence draws chaos, so everyone else around him experiences oddly perfect days. The Foundation figured this out fast. So they started sending him on missions. Got a terrorist group with mutant bees? Send Weddle. He'll probably trip over his own foot, but the bees? They'll vanish, because probability bends around him. Bad things still happen, but only to him. They tried to keep him safe in a desk job, but it backfired. Every time they pulled him from the field, things got worse. Talking animals, exploding volcanoes, gods doing the moonwalk. No joke. So now, he's basically reality's punching bag. Everything breaks around him, but not for the rest of us. Survival chance? 100% if you're near him. 0% if your name rhymes with Fettle. If that's you, good luck. You'll need it. SCP-112-ARC. You know that one guy who takes No Nut November way too seriously? Now imagine he's a glowing metal orb buried deep underground, and he can kill you with gravity if you've ever even thought about sex. That's SCP-112-ARC, a 2-meter wide sphere, radiating heat, waves, and pure hatred for sex. Nobody knows what it is or where it came from, but one thing's clear. This thing despises anyone who's ever gotten lucky. So, not you, Dr. Weddle. Anyone with functioning bits gets too close? Instant gravity meltdown. Buildings collapse, people liquefy, and the only ones left standing are a hand-picked squad of surgically castrated monks. And no, these monks aren't like the chipmunks, but they'll probably take your nuts if they have to. These individuals, referred to as the castrati, form a human barrier between the rest of the world and total destruction. If they're unhappy, the object starts emitting dangerous radiation and heat. If they're really upset, it can reach 450 degrees Celsius and melt everything in a 2-mile radius. The artifact also asks the castrati for random things. Books, cloth, even uranium ore. Deny it delivery? And the tantrum begins. Attempts to interact using anyone who fails the no sex, no organs criteria result in instant death by gravity. And no, just the tip doesn't get you past security. The sphere knows. Survival chance? 0%. Unless you've taken a vow of celibacy, filed the paperwork, and had some parts rearranged. If not, hope you at least had fun. SCP-2521, SCP He Who Must Not Be Named, or just Greg, for the convenience of this video, is a Keter-class entity that can't be named, written about, or described. Try it, and it appears. And it takes whatever you said, including you. So repeat after me. This is fine. This is not fine. This equals goodbye. So now that we've established that, Greg is often described, when people dare, as a 2-meter-tall figure wrapped in black toilet paper, and he's oddly sentient. It absorbs any text or speech about itself and vanishes the source. Files, researchers, even mid-sentence reports. That's why we resort to symbols and avoid words or speaking its name. But Greg is not killing people. He's archiving them. You say his name and poof, you're gone. Probably filed in some eternal SCP scrapbook under the name of Oops. The top theory is that Greg doesn't know what he is. He's just trying to learn. But instead of books, he collects people. One guy described an image of him out loud. Gone. Another typed a report. Gone. When researchers tried to overload him with copy-paste spam, he responded by vanishing 2 global agencies. So yeah, Voldemort could never. But unlike Voldemort, he doesn't seem angry. And definitely not malicious. He's just extremely inconvenient. Greg won't kill you with a curse, he'll just make you vanish. Survival chance? 10%. And that's assuming you're mute, offline, and exclusively thinking shit. SCP-096. Picture this. You're in the sauna. It's quiet, a bit awkward even. You accidentally make eye contact with the pale guy in the corner. Now, imagine that person lets out an ear-piercing scream, starts sobbing uncontrollably, and then hunts you down at lightning speed to rip you apart. That's the shy guy. He's tall, pale, disturbingly nude, and deeply committed to never being perceived. Most of the time, he's curled up in a corner, sobbing because he's embarrassed about his looks, which explains why the moment someone sees his face, in person, in a photo, or through a security glitch, he flips from silent mode to nudist death missile. Doesn't matter how you saw it. Camera feed, satellite image, or a blurred photo from 20 years ago. The second your brain processes what he looks like, he snaps. And when he snaps, he runs at 300 miles per hour. You could be scuba diving in Fiji or playing basketball. He'll always show up. The Foundation has tried acid baths, heavy artillery, even making him throw hands against other SCPs. Nothing worked. He's torn through aircraft, mountain ranges, and entire Foundation squads just to reach one poor guy who spotted 4 blurry pixels of his face in a group photo from the 90s. At this point, you're probably wondering, can I survive this? Short answer, no. No one knows how he detects his victims or why he goes completely feral. He doesn't seem to enjoy it, he just does it. Anyways, survival chance, 0%. And if I had to look him up to write this, you're going down with me. SCP-106. You know that one uncle who overstays his welcome? Now imagine him rotting through your drywall and dragging you into an endless pocket dimension. That's SCP-106, or how I like to call him. Immortal Unk. The man's so old, he probably remembers when SCP-001 was still in diapers. He's a Keter-class humanoid corpse that's so deteriorated, it's like someone deep-fried a dried raisin and covered it in barbecue sauce. And if you ever see him walking with a cane, yeah, that's actually a spinal cord. Instead of enjoying retirement like a normal senior citizen, this old man phases through walls, gurgling like a clogged sink, and corroding your bones just by touching you. Literally everything he touches starts breaking down instantly. Walls, doors, people. No favorites. And it gets worse. If you thought your farting, diaper-wearing grandpa drooling in your lap was gross, imagine this guy melting your living room and dragging you into his personal hellscape. That pocket dimension is basically hell with less structure. He keeps victims in there for days, weeks, whatever he's in the mood for. Some get let out, most don't. But if they do, they come out shell-shocked, broken, and definitely missing a few years off their lives. And just when you thought that was the low point, Immortal Unk has a type. He prefers victims aged 10 to 25, and he'll hunt them endlessly. No nap time and no dementia to slow him down. So, before you know it, you're spending bingo night in a prison with no clocks, no exits, and no end. Survival chance? 0%. Unless you're the one grandkid he actually likes. SCP-7450 isn't one thing, it's 4. Think of them as 4 walking skyscrapers that completed the ultimate ascension to godhood on December 13th, 2028. Each stands between 19 and 23 kilometers tall, huge humanoids with 6 wings, one hand clutching a curved sickle, dripping doom so hard, you'll blow out your earbuds just trying to record them. Once labeled Apollyon class, meaning possible end of the world, the Foundation realized that's not a maybe. It already happened. Now it's officially classified as Megiddo class, because end of the world sounded too optimistic. Nobody knows exactly what started it, but rumors say a celestial entity called 981 AJAX showed up. It waved hello and got instantly vaporized. After that, the 4 giants began their slow orbits around the globe, radiating effects that can't be seen or heard without consequences. Visuals of their faces and recordings of their voices can't be reviewed safely, not even by machines. Any visual or audio exposure triggers something called compulsion, a fancy term for you'll literally join their endless walking tour. People drop everything, food, sleep, maybe even personal hygiene, and follow these things until their feet grind into dust. Over time, they start to become the entity they're shadowing, complete with their inhuman babble, which, by the way, is contagious. The Foundation's only guidance is, don't look, don't listen. And if your coworker does, shoot first. Ask never. It might be harsh, sure, But at this point, empathy's a liability. Survival chance minus 10%. And that's me being generous. SCP-002 looks like someone tried to build a studio apartment out of salami. It's this squishy, veiny mass of organic tissue, about the size of a small shipping container. On the outside, it's gross. On the inside, worse. Through an iron hatch, there's what appears to be a perfectly normal low-budget apartment. Window, furniture, rugs, even a beanbag chair. Cute, right? Except every single item in that room is made out of human body parts. Here's the problem. Every time someone enters this thing and doesn't come out, new furniture appears. Like, oh hey, a new recliner. Yeah, that's Steve. He went in 10 minutes ago. It doesn't react to animals. Or dead bodies. It only responds to living people. And by respond, we mean it eats them, and then rearranges their DNA into new furniture. So, if you go missing near this thing, chances are you're coming back as a coat rack or a bookshelf. It fell from orbit and crash-landed in Portugal, which is definitely not where you'd expect to find a space flesh apartment. A farmer found it. He called his local elder. They called the SCP Foundation. The foundation showed up, lost a few people to spontaneous furniture conversion, and promptly nuked the entire village's memory. Or, the villagers themselves. Containment is manageable, barely. Keep it plugged in at all times or it starts getting hungry. Anyone approaching it needs to do so in pairs, constantly confirming that, yes, the other person is still a person and not a lamp. SCP-015-IT. Right. So you know that thing under your bed you were scared of as a kid? Turns out that wasn't just your imagination. It was Italian. SCP-015-IT is what happens when the classic boogeyman gets dumped in a vat of black paint, sprinkled with Catholic guilt, and dropped off somewhere outside Naples. You could basically describe him as tall, dark, and handsome, something girls seem to go crazy for. It's just under 2 meters tall with zero hair. His skin is so dark it absorbs 98% of light. And he has a forked tongue that works like a double-barreled needle, straight to your adrenal gland. In other words, it eats fear, literally. It doesn't speak, scream, or monologue. It just watches, stalks you at night, waits until you're distracted, then bites you in the side, pumps you full of knockout juice, and slurps up your stress like a cold espresso. You don't die, usually. It just wants a hit of your fight or flight hormones and maybe a nap afterward. But here's the twist. According to a priest named Father Ilardi, this thing might have once been human. A soul corrupted and possibly cursed. Ilardi managed to calm it and even earned some weird affection from it. The screams would stop when he spoke gently. It wasn't scared of holy symbols. It just hated uniforms, especially ones from the Holy Order. Maybe bad past experiences with crusades. Who knows? Containment is manageable, and as long as nobody does anything dumb. It's locked up at Site Vittoria in a secure cell built like a panic room, minus the panic. You want to feed it fear? Fine. Just don't bring spaghetti unless you're ready for some really weird vibes. SCP-4975. You'll hear it before you see it. A quiet clicking noise, like someone tapping a pen forever. It's the kind of sound that drives people with misophonia straight into therapy. And for good reason, because once you hear that ticking and realize it's following you, yeah, you've got a problem. SCP-4975 is what happens when a grandfather clock, a horror story, and a flamingo from the dark web get fused in a German forest. It's tall, thin, vaguely human, covered in thick, leathery skin and has a long beak that doesn't open, which is somehow more unnerving than if it did. Its limbs end in weird, fingerless stumps, but don't let that fool you. It kills just fine. Its most charming feature? The neck. Doesn't walk around like a normal creature. It constantly rotates its neck bones, one vertebra at a time, in a looping click, click, click that sounds like a metronome someone set to panic. It only stops cracking when it's about to attack. So if the clicking suddenly goes quiet, run. Or, just stand there and accept your fate. It stalks its targets for months, sometimes close to a year, before finally striking. You don't know it's chosen you, but you'll start hearing that rhythmic cracking wherever you go. When it's ready, it appears out of nowhere, tears you apart with those blunt limbs, and eats you. Containment is simple. Just a locked steel room and zero human interaction. But somehow it still feeds. Surveillance has shown it can attack victims remotely while physically inside its cell. So either it's cheating, or time and space don't apply when you're this committed to the bit. SCP-439. If you've ever looked at your skeleton and thought, this could double as real estate, SCP-439 agrees. These things look like tiny gray earwigs, harmless at first glance. But give them a sleeping human and about 5 minutes of unsupervised access, and suddenly you're on the market as a bone-based condo. The queen enters through the mouth while you're asleep, settles in your lungs, and gets to work. Step 1. Hijack your body's biology to trigger rapid onset bone growth, medically known as fibrodysplasia ossificans progressiva. But let's just call it bone apocalypse. In about 3 days, you're locked in place, immobile, and quietly screaming on the inside. Your bones are bent into a neat little ball, and congratulations, you're now a hive. Your spine, hallway, ribs, restaurant, internal organs, live festival. And yes, you're still alive for all of it. Roughly 30,000 bugs later, a new queen hatches, the colony commits mass suicide, and the next host hunt begins. Victims usually die of starvation, because apparently having your bones turned into insect architecture isn't enough. Containment involves sealed oxygenated tanks, steel, and denial. If you see one in the wild, don't blink, don't breathe, definitely don't fall asleep. Your skeleton already pays enough rent. SCP-504. SCP-504 is a tomato with taste, not the culinary kind, the comedic kind. And that taste is aggressively violent. Make a bad joke near one of these things, and it will fire itself at your face like it's personally offended you exist. Physically, it looks like any regular tomato. Genetically, it is a regular tomato. The difference is that this one turns into a ballistic missile the second someone within earshot tells a pun. Language doesn't matter. Quality definitely does. The worse the joke, the faster it flies. We're talking from mild concussion to broke the sound barrier and vaporized a laptop. Discovered in Kentucky after a farmer was allegedly murdered by his lunch, which fair. The Foundation quickly moved in to quarantine the angry produce. Now, all SCP-504 tomatoes are kept in soundproof rooms, and anyone working near them wears special radio-enabled masks, so the tomatoes can't hear their existential crisis jokes during lunch. Containment is simple. Just don't be funny. Or at least, don't be bad funny. The tomatoes don't care if your joke is offensive or edgy. They care if it's cringe. And if it is, they will launch. Even at pre-recorded stand-up. Even at Monty Python. Even once at a pun about imaginary numbers, which caused a tomato to reach over 2,000 miles per hour and obliterate a computer. Moral of the story. If you're not funny, keep it to yourself. Or bring a helmet. SCP-035. SCP-035 is a porcelain comedy mask that switches to tragedy when it's feeling dramatic. It really, really wants you to put it on. And it's not above using charm, manipulation, or good old-fashioned psychic influence to make that happen. Once you wear it, you're done. It hijacks your body, digs through your memories, and turns your brain into day-old lasagna. Then it uses your voice, your face, your everything to keep the act going. Think Jim Carrey in The Mask, except instead of cartoon antics and a big yellow suit, it's mind control and a pool of acidic goo where your soul used to be. It talks, a lot. It flatters, schemes, plays mind games, and will convince you that it's your best friend right before it turns your brain into soup. The black ooze it leaks corrodes anything, walls, cameras, people, and its containment room has been upgraded more times than Windows. Even with no host, it can influence thoughts, shatter electronics, and make researchers bleed from the eyes while reciting Latin. So that's fun. Containment is barely manageable. It's kept in a glass case because its goo eats through literally everything else. Personnel near it are rotated often and heavily screened for signs of emotional breakdown or sudden Shakespearean monologues. Oh, and it's currently on a permanent no-host policy, which it doesn't like, at all. But after a few insurrections, suicides, and mass psychological breakdowns, the Foundation decided it can sit in its cursed box and sulk. SCP-4885. You might remember him as Waldo, the fun little guy you used to find in books as a kid. Red and white stripes, bobble hat, never where you expect him. Expect now he's a skinless dimensional throat crawler, with no eyes and a grudge against anyone who dares to know where he is. If you figure out his exact location, not somewhere in Europe, but third floor break room, left cabinet behind the coffee machine, cheers. You just scheduled your own internal organ rearrangement. If you're far away, he'll teleport inside your body. Then he reaches out of your mouth, grabs your jaw, and drags himself through your entire body, like he's doing a home renovation. You die, obviously, and then your corpse turns into a Where's Waldo picture book. Containment is, let's call it, elaborate. The Foundation has a whole shell game system of trucks, storage boxes, AI surveillance, and decoy locations just to make sure nobody ever knows where he is. Because the second someone does, the whole meat process starts again. So if someone asks you, "Where's Waldo?" don't answer. The less you know, the longer you live. Because Waldo doesn't want to be found anymore. He wants revenge. SCP-001. The Scarlet King is not just the biggest bad guy in the SCP Foundation. He's the bad guy. An ancient reality-breaking god who basically represents everything cruel, violent, and terrifying about humanity. He hates science, loathes technology, and wants to rewind the universe back to a time when blood sacrifice was just part of the daily routine. Worshipped by a cult called the Children of the Scarlet King, this guy isn't just powerful. He's a walking apocalypse with a crown. His followers believe he should rule the world again, and their plan is simple. Summon him into our reality and let him smash everything modern so we can all enjoy a fresh new dark age. The Scarlet King doesn't have one form. He changes constantly, sometimes a demon, sometimes a god, sometimes a cosmic toddler soaked in blood. He's fought and conquered other gods, including one named Sana, who he forcibly married. Yes, it's as awful as it sounds. Together, they had 7 daughters, each destined to give birth to powerful creatures. So far, 6 of them have delivered. When the 7th does, game over. That's when the king himself arrives. Containment is just a very elaborate way of saying, please don't wake up. A nightmare baked into the collective human consciousness. The best the Foundation can do is delay him. They run horrific rituals to keep the 7th bride from giving birth. They suppress his cults, they erase knowledge, and they pray a lot. SCP-173, aka the Sculpture. You blink, you die. This thing is the reason no one at Site 19 blinks without a spotter. The sculpture looks like someone gave a toddler a bucket of concrete and said, make trauma. The result? A short humanoid figure made of concrete and rebar, kind of shaped like a giant thick peanut. It's always covered in mystery stains, constantly leaking God knows what, and somehow always standing a little too close. Its arms are raised like it's mid-step, or about to ask you about D. You might wonder, who's D? D's nuts. Sorry, lol. Anyways, the head is smooth and round, with 2 red circles for eyes and a thin black line for a mouth. It doesn't change expression, it doesn't need to. When observed, it stays completely still. But the second no one is looking at it, it moves. Instantly. Crunch! The movement is fast, sharp, and final. Its method is always the same. It snaps the neck at the base and drops the body. There's no let-up, no hesitation. Just one blink too long and it's over. Containment is simple but strict. A locked room, bright lights, 2 people minimum inside at all times. If one blinks, the other has to be watching. Cameras don't work. Mirrors don't help. It has to be a direct line of sight. People have tried to outsmart it. They don't last long. No backstory, no motive. Snappy Boy doesn't speak, doesn't blink, and doesn't stop. It just kills, then waits for the next blink. SCP-682, aka hard-to-destroy reptile. It's a massive reptilian creature with a serious attitude problem. It's over 10 meters long, covered in thick, jagged scales, with sharp claws and a body designed for breaking things. Its back is lined with what look like twisted spines or bone growths, or depending on the day, like a crocodile wearing greasy bone-colored hair extensions. This thing absolutely despises all life. Doesn't matter what it is, human, animal, plant. If it's breathing, 682 wants it dead. It's tried to breach containment more times than anyone can count. It's survived being shot, burned, frozen, melted, gassed, electrocuted, and dropped into acid. It survived the acid, it just got mad about it. The Foundation has no idea how to kill it. Every time they try, it adapts fast. They nuked it once, didn't work. It just crawled out of the crater pissed off. In one test, they even threw another SCP at it to see if they'd kill each other. The reptile won. It can talk, but usually doesn't bother. When it does, it's just threats, insults, and the occasional reminder that it'll kill everyone eventually. Its voice is low, slow, and calm, which somehow makes it worse. Containment is a constant problem. Its chamber is a high-security acid tank, but even that only slows it down. It heals from injuries almost instantly. The only reason it's still contained is because everyone's too scared to open the door again. SCP-106, aka the Old Man. He looks like a corpse, smells like a scrapyard, walks through walls, and drags people into hell. Looks like retirement's going well. Its skin is black and slick with a tar-like substance that constantly leaks off its body. It doesn't walk so much as drag itself forward, slowly, like it has all the time in the world, and no reason to rush. Everything it touches corrodes instantly. Walls, doors, people. Doesn't matter. It breaks down on contact. This thing doesn't care about containment. It walks through walls like they aren't there. Literally. It can create its own portals through solid material and just vanish. It goes where it wants, when it wants, and when it takes someone, they don't die quickly. Anyone it grabs gets pulled into its pocket dimension. No one knows what's in there, just that people don't come back the same. When they do reappear, they're either babbling incoherently or not moving at all. The Old Man doesn't talk much, but when it does, it's not friendly. It plays with its prey. It'll stalk someone for hours, show up randomly, then vanish again. Not out of strategy, out of enjoyment. Containment is barely containment. They just try to slow it down. It's held in a sealed steel room suspended inside another room, surrounded by acid. Doesn't always work. SCP-106 is patient, silent, and completely sadistic. It's not hunting to feed, it's hunting because it can. SCP-939, aka with many voices. SCP-939 refers to a group of large, red reptilian predators. They have no skin, just exposed muscle and sinew that stays wet and glistening like it was peeled 5 minutes ago. No eyes, no ears. They could be mistaken for a cute doggo, but I think the no skin and all teeth thing might give them away. They hunt using sound. specifically your sound. SCP-939 can perfectly mimic human voices.
My name is Jeff.
Not just general talking, but exact phrases and tones. It learns from its victims, then repeats what they said while hiding in the dark. Help me. Please don't leave. Or,
Tung 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 sahur.
all in the voice of someone already dead. It doesn't understand the words. It just knows you'll come closer. Inside their containment chambers, they've been heard repeating phrases like, I don't want to die, or subscribe to my channel right now, over and over. Doesn't matter if it makes sense. It's not communication, it's bait. They show pack behavior, ambushing targets by luring them in, separating them, then attacking all at once. They move quickly, can climb, and know how to use dark, tight spaces to their advantage. Standard protocol is to stay silent, stay low. And if you hear someone talking in a place they shouldn't be,
Excuse me, English or Spanish?
don't answer. SCP-939 doesn't want to talk. It wants you to come closer. SCP-049, aka the Plague Doctor. Looks like it just walked off a 1600s quarantine poster, full black robes, gloves, bird mask, and all, except none of it comes off. That's not a costume, it's part of him. The beak? Fused? The robe? Skin? The hat? Somehow also skin. Don't think about it too hard. It speaks perfect English, but with that fancy Renaissance flair, like it's about to monologue in a community theater version of Hamlet. It calls everyone subject and won't shut up about something called the pestilence. No one knows what that is. He won't explain it. All we know is that apparently everyone has it, including you. Yes, you. The cure is simple. A casual neck grab, instant death, and some back alley surgery using whatever's lying around. After a few hours, the body gets back up, twitching, aggressive, and missing whatever made it human. SCP-049 calls that a win. The Foundation calls that Tuesday. It's usually calm, cooperative even. It'll sit down, do interviews, chat about its work like it's on a podcast. But the second someone questions its methods or delays it mid-procedure, lights out. You can't reason with it. You can't argue. You just stay on the other side of the glass and hope it doesn't hear you coughing. SCP-1048, aka the teddy bear. It looks like a teddy bear. It acts like a teddy bear. Then it builds another teddy bear out of your organs. Soft fabric, button eyes, stitched smile. Looks like something you'd find in a child's bedroom. It's completely silent, walks around on its own, and likes to wave at staff. Most folks thought it was harmless, cute even. Then it started building things. That's what it does. It builds. Specifically new bears, using whatever it can find lying around. One was made out of human ears. Another used bones and hair. No one saw it collect the materials. No one ever sees it work. But people go missing and new bears keep showing up. You do the math. One of its creations let out a screech that caused instant internal bleeding in multiple staff members. After that, the Foundation stopped calling it adorable. The original SCP-1048 is still loose inside the facility, drawing on walls, skipping down hallways, occasionally vanishing for a few hours. Every time it does, a new friend shows up, built from whatever was left of someone else. It doesn't explain, it doesn't care. It just keeps making more, and no one's figured out what it's building toward. SCP-3000, aka Anantashesha. SCP-3000 is a sea serpent the size of a continent. No one's sure how long it is. Estimates range from 600 kilometers to don't ask. It lives in the Bay of Bengal, deep underwater, and doesn't move much. Most of the time, it just lies there, waiting, watching. The head is eel-like, bloated and rotting. The body stretches into the black water for who knows how far. It's not aggressive, but that doesn't make it safe. Just being near it causes memory loss, confusion, extreme anxiety, and full-on existential breakdowns. People who dive near it forget why they're there, or forget who they are entirely. It also produces a thick, black fluid from its skin, a greasy neurochemical that the Foundation collects and uses to make amnestics. That's right. The memory-wiping drugs they hand out like aspirin, they come from this thing's corpse juice. Containment is limited to don't bother it. There's no tank, no cage, just constant surveillance and a rotating crew of poor souls tasked with harvesting its secretions and not losing their minds in the process. Most don't last long. SCP-3000 is ancient, aware, and entirely uninterested in your survival. It is not asleep. It just hasn't decided to do anything yet. SCP-4666, aka the Wendigo Santa. You know that old saying, he sees you when you're sleeping? Yeah, that's him. SCP-4666 is what happens when Christmas folklore runs out of joy and decides to get real dark, real fast. It's tied to something called the Weissnacht phenomenon, which happens every year between December 1st and January 7th. Same pattern every time. Isolated house, snowstorm, children present. That's when he shows up. Uninvited, unannounced, unclothed. He's tall, over 2 meters, pale, malnourished, long white hair, and no visible eyes. Always butt naked, no matter how cold it is. Doesn't speak. Doesn't break in. He just appears. At first he watches, stands at windows, stalks the halls. Kids see him first, not that anyone believes them. Then come the gifts. Toys, handmade with care, using human bone, hair, or skin. Foundation notes refer to them as crude but functional, which, doesn't make it better. By the end of the event, everyone in the house is dead. Children go first, adults last. The deaths are brutal. Torture, mutilation, sometimes partially eaten. No forced entry, no signs of struggle, no noise. Just one big silent holiday massacre. The worst part? He's been doing this for centuries. Same look, same routine, same results. There is no containment. The Foundation doesn't know where it goes, where it comes from, or how it chooses its targets. They just know when winter comes, it starts again. All right, folks, that concludes the list. This is just a glimpse into the weird world of the SCP Foundation. If these are the ones they let us know about, imagine what they're still hiding.